Everyone, my name is Brennan Ryan at Noisy Areas the Ventilator. Welcome to One with the Force, my Friday show, presented by Page Turners. They Were Not My Star Wars podcast. I wanted to talk about the balance of the Force. Now, this is a big topic, and I've certainly discussed it before. So I want to um, narrow it down a bit. The, to specifically the question of should the Sith be allowed to exist? Um, I got this idea because the other yesterday or the other day, um, our friends over at Force Center were talking about the new Visions shorts, and in the first episode of season 3 of Visions, you have um, a, a kind of in a way the episode suggests that the Sith must exist for there to be balance. And I disagree with that argument, and I'll explain why. What we do know is that light and dark do exist, and in the Star Wars galaxy, they need to exist. Luke explains to Rey that, everything has a, an opposite. You have life and death, heat and cold. You have these things, these natural differences between light and dark. I think the galaxy in its natural state has light and has dark, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is part of the balance. But the Sith and other Darksiders shouldn't be allowed to exist for the sake of balance. The Sith can't exist and say it's okay if we run around doing evil because that's part of the balance. That is not a valid argument. Let me explain why. What do we see the Sith and other Darksiders do? Build planet killing machines. They commit genocide on a mass level. They try to cheat death and do many, many other things that distort the natural balance. I'm sorry, going around blowing up planets, saying, well, I should be allowed to do that because it's part of the balance, is incorrect. Meaning that they can't use that excuse of, well, it's okay if we go around doing these horrible things. because that's just part of the balance. They can't use that argument. In my mind, the Jedi are guardians of balance, meaning that it's up to the Jedi to make sure that the natural order proceeds as it should. And when you have Sith and other Darksiders blowing up planets, trying to cheat death, they are in violation of the balance because they are trying to shape the natural order to their will. That's one of the major differences between the Jedi and the Sith. The Jedi accept death. The Jedi protect life. The Sith do not. The Darksiders do not. Sith and other Darksiders, they don't want to die. They'll do anything, even the most unnatural things, to cheat death. They want the galaxy to obey them. They want to bend and shape and twist to their will. They want it their way. And the Jedi are willing to let go of that. So light and dark should exist, because that's the nature of it. But Darksiders and Sith must be stopped because they don't protect the balance. They try to distort the balance to their desires. And so they cannot use the excuse, well, I should exist. Because if you deny me, you're denying the balance of light and dark. They might try to use that excuse, but it's not a valid excuse. It's just like in our real world, there is balance between good and evil, I think. But that doesn't mean dictators, cartel leaders, violent criminals, evil politicians, fat cat businessmen. It doesn't mean that they can say, well, I should be allowed to exist. Now, obviously, there are always going to be evil people like that. But we would be fools to say, well, they have the right to exist. Or they have a right to be evil like that. Certainly, I believe in free will, agency, and I certainly believe that people can use it for good or bad. But it doesn't mean that we should accept evil people in places of power. Because if they use the excuse, well, I should exist, because it's okay if I'm evil, because that's part of the natural order, they would be wrong. And they must be fought all the time. You know, not to get too into alarming territory, but the Nazis could not use the claim if they went around saying, well, we should exist because, good and bad should exist, and therefore we should exist. No one with a sane mind would ever accept that. So, like in Star Wars, just because they exist doesn't mean that they can get away with existing. And using the excuse, well, it's okay, I'm just part of the natural order, is not an acceptable excuse. So those are my thoughts on why the Sith and other Darksiders shouldn't just be allowed to do whatever they want. Because what they're doing is they are upsetting the natural order. They are trying to tip the scales in their direction. And once you tip those scales, you're no longer in balance. Hope that I've made sense. It's a big topic. It's a very big topic. And there's a lot of ground that we can cover, but I wanted to cover that. And that is why the Jedi and other good guys must always be vigilant to fight back against the Darksiders who are causing imbalance. Those are just my thoughts, and I hope they make sense. My name is Brendan Marr, the Noisy Haze Ventilator. Thank you for tuning in to One with the Force. Presented by Page Turners They Were Not My Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.